Okay, welcome to part 4 of this building restoration project. What we're going to do now is try to put some people in here and give them some realistic shadows. So I'm going to head over to the internet and I'm going to search for people, stock images of people from, you're going to be looking at the movie theater. I go to images, I can see all kinds of ones. I kind of like this one where they're separated a little bit because that way I can use them individually. So I'm going to click this one. It's a pretty small file size, but they're going to be small in my picture, so I'm not concerned. Let's just check this one. It's about the same. So we'll go with my original selection, which was this one, and I'll right click, open image in new tab, and this gives me this image. So I'm going to save image as, and I'm just going to make sure it goes to the same folder as all my other folders, files rather. Now, when I place this into Photoshop, I'm going to want to place it at the very top here above all the other things. So I can choose File, Place Embedded, and go into my desktop where I've got Photos Restoration. Unfortunately, when I downloaded this, it's a WebP file. So give me a second while I convert that one. Okay, so now I'll choose File, Place Embedded. Okay, so I've got this group of people here. It doesn't really matter where I put them for this next part, but maybe what I'll do is I'll try to make them the right size first. That might help. So a little smaller than that. So you got to think, he's going to go through this door, but he's going to be a little bit bigger than it because he's not right at the door. So that looks like about the right size for those people. So accept my change. Now, once again, Photoshop has a really nice tool here called the Object Selection Tool. And if I just draw around all of the people, and I don't want the text, so I just draw around all the people, Photoshop should do a nice job, and it did, of finding the outline of all those people. And it may have found in between the arms too. We're going to find out in a second. It also did take the text, but no big deal. I'll just click my mask button. And now you can see I still got some work to do here. There's still some white areas on some of these people. So I don't really like the work that the object selection tool did on this, and this might happen to you. So I'm going to undo a couple of times. And instead, I'm going to use the magic wand. The magic wand will let me choose in the options bar contiguous, which means only connected areas of a color that I want to click on, or uncheck contiguous, which means it'll get all of that. And you'll notice that it's got a white background. So if I click the white, it should select all the white in the image. And lucky for us, no one in this photo is wearing any white, so it won't select that. So I'll click, and then I'll try the mask, but watch what happens. It got a wrong thing. It's like the backwards selection. So if that ever happens, if you have something selected that's what you do not want and you want to get rid of it, then you have to hold down Option or Alt on a PC and then click. And now it's a much nicer selection. It's got all the white out of there. The text is still here on the ground, but I can click on my mask, click on my brush, make sure that my foreground color is black, and just paint the text right out of there. So now I got all these people standing there, and that's fine. Are they really all standing there staring at that building in a straight row like that? I mean, we could do that. I want to show you, though, if you wanted to make somebody else standing somewhere else, how you could do that. So if I select my layer and I grab my, let's say, the rectangular marquee tool, this guy on the end here, I'm going to draw a selection around him. See that? It's not touching the other guy. It's just him. And he's on this layer, but I can do a Command or Control J, and it pops that guy up onto his own layer. Okay, so that's pretty cool. But then his layer mask is gone. So what I can do if I undo that is I can apply this layer mask. But in order to apply a layer mask, I have to first rasterize that layer. So I'm going to go Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object, and I'm going to apply the layer mask. So now if I did the same thing where I grab this dude and I do a Command J or Control J on PC, it pops him up onto his own layer all by himself. You see that? And you can continue to do that for all your people. What that's going to let me do, it's going to let me take that man, and I'll just call it Purple Shirt Man. Get my move tool, and I can just move him over, right? Two of him, and I can go back to my original layer, select him, and just press delete. So now what I've done is I've been able to isolate just this one man, and the rest of the group is standing there. Looks like they're waiting to get in or they're ready to protest. But in any case, you can. That's how you can make individual people out of one image of all these different people. And what we're going to do now is make shadows. So for this large group, in order to make a shadow out of them, there are lots of different techniques for this, but they're all separated. It's only their pixels on this layer. So if I do a Command J, and you'll notice that the top layer is their layer. If I take the bottom layer of them, see this is them, I need to make them solid black. There are lots of different ways to do that. Here's a way that we did it in a tutorial last week. So we just Command clicked on the thumbnail or Control click on a PC. And now they're all selected. And if the foreground color is black, we can choose Option Delete. And what that does is it takes the foreground color and makes it the fill color. So now these people have a solid black, and that's going to become our shadow. I'll say shadow of group. In order to make this look like a shadow, we get our Move tool, Edit, Transform, and we flip vertical. Boom. So now they're upside down. And if we turn on our other layer, we can try to connect their feet with their feet. And that's not bad, but we got to think about how the shadows are really falling in this. We have to really kind of make this stretched out some and very blurry. So let's do the stretchy part first. I can hold Command on a Mac or Control on a PC and drag a corner out this way and drag a corner out this way. Now the feet don't really match up, but I can drag these corners around until I try to get all the feet on the people to match. It's going to be tough. So long as I get them close, this should work. There we go. See, I had to move the other corner around a little bit to get the people in the middle to connect with their feet. As long as I'm close, it should be good because once again, I'm going to make this super blurry. So what I do again is on that shadow layer, I can go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and that's pretty good, but I can change the blend mode. Sometimes a blend mode of darken or multiply works. Let's try some other ones. Kind of like soft light. That's kind of working pretty well. I can also change the opacity, so those shadows are more see-through. I can also go back and add more of a blur. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. All right, and just blur it a little bit more so those shadows look like they're falling. Now, there's a technique from another video we watched where the shadows of these people were matching the color of the shadows in the street. So what you can do is you can Command click on the original group like we did before and sample a color. I could also, before I do anything else, I could click on the foreground color and sample like one of these darker shadows in here. So see, it's not quite black. It's a little blue, it's a little brown. And then once I add an effect called color overlay, I guess I need to sample it anyway. So I click that and I just sample from that corner. So now it's that brownish, dark brown. And I say, okay, okay. And then it's hard to see, but the color just barely changes. If I turn on and off the effects, you can see it. So it starts to look more realistic just because it's taken those colors. So that's pretty good. And we've done a pretty good job with that. Now I can do the same process with this other guy, right? I can command click. Actually, I want to duplicate that layer first. Call this one shadow of shirt. Command click. I deselect, edit, transform, flip vertical. I move his shadow down. Just like get his shadow flying over this way because the light's coming out that way. I can go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. It's nice and blurry. Change the blending mode to soft light. Change the opacity a little bit. There we go. So now I've got people and shadows. These people do not look like they match the night scene, though. So here comes some more tricks. What we have to do is probably just group all of these people together. Okay. I hold down Shift or click on one layer, and I hold down Shift and click on the top layer, and do Command G or Control G on a PC. And I can just call this people, group of people. And then I can do some things that I did for the building. So I went to levels and I try to adjust levels. It affects the whole scene, so I have to make sure to clip it. But I can adjust those people so they're looking a little darker, like that. There we go. I can also add another adjustment layer. And when I add another adjustment layer, you'll notice it doesn't clip, so I have to clip that. Take out some of the saturation, maybe move them a little bit so that they are different color, darken them up a little bit. I just play around with these sliders. Actually, I want to go into like blues, or I mean reds and yellows. Let's see. Take out the saturation of some reds. There we go. So now it's looking a little bit more like they're standing there at night with their shadows. You can see the before and after of any of these, but it's just about playing around with these different settings until you get the look that you want. And I may go ahead and mess with these shadows more, but that's the general idea of where we're going with this. The people are starting to look like they're really standing there because they match the scene and their shadows are blurry against the street, blocking some of the light from those windows. So I hope you enjoyed this one. And the next one, we'll talk about how to fix some of the errors with cloning and healing in this design. Thank you.